Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm Chakits Krulsawat with Simply Vegas, a realtor out here in Las Vegas and Henderson, bringing you another market snapshot for May 24th. So let's just jump right into it. Let's start off with the United States federal fund rates. We are actually sitting at 1.75%. The Federal Reserve left a target range for the federal fund rates studies at 1.5 to 1.7% during its May 2018 meeting. In line with the market expectations, interest rates in the United States averaged 5.72% from 1971 until 2018, reaching an all-time high of a 20% in March of 1980 as a record low of 0.25% in December of 2008. The reason why you guys need to know what the current Fed fund rates is and how this is really going to impact you is the higher the Fed fund rates raises their rates, what's going to happen is your interest rates are going to be more. That's why you're starting to see interest rates are hovering anywhere from 4.75%. So you have to understand that the more bonds and the more money that the United States creates, like we have about $21 trillion, other countries are buying those bonds. However, we have to pay those bonds back. And how do we pay those bonds? By actually raising the Fed fund rates, because the Federal Reserve has to pay off these bonds. And what's happening now is the higher that they raise it, the higher your interest rate is. In the way that the market is moving right now in the housing market, it's making it more difficult for you to buy a home, and people will start retracting. But I'm looking here online today. As of today, according to Wells Fargo, their fixed rate is for a 30-year is 4.75%. VA is 4.625%, and on a 20-year is at 4.4%, and on a 15-year is 4.2%. Also, they have arms, 7.1 arm, 5.1 arm, which is anywhere from 4.2 to 4.3, which is it's actually a still good rate in today's market. So if you are getting a loan and you're around like 4.9 or 5%, it's still a good interest rate. It's still a low rate. Okay, so don't be afraid with that. So let's move on to GDP, which is gross domestic products. GDP, gross domestic products in the U.S. expand from 2.9% in the first quarter of 2008 over the same quarter of the previous year. The reason why you have to take a look at GDP and what GDP is, gross domestic products, is what we are actually creating and making and selling to other foreign countries. Now, this shows our economy where we currently stand. If we took a look on July of 2016, we actually were only at 1.2%, but it rose all the way up to 2.9%. A good economy is normally around 3% GDP. But if you look at like other countries like China, their GDP is 18%, because what they're doing is producing a lot of goods and selling it to other foreign countries. Like us, we actually buy a lot of stuff from China. And all the other countries are buying stuff from China, and that's the reason why their GDP is good. But that shows you where we stand as far as the economy. The higher the GDP is, that means the United States is actually making money, which they're able to pay back those bonds. So this is another indicator that you should be looking at too as well. Let's talk about unemployment. The United States unemployment, the U.S. unemployment rates fell from 3.9% in April of 2018 from 4.1%. So this is actually good. We went from 4.1 all the way down to 3.9. So the lower the unemployment is, actually the better it is. So that means Americans are actually out there getting jobs and creating jobs and actually spending money. But this will lead me to follow up with consumer price index, and that's also important. Right now, here in Nevada, we are actually at 4.9%. So that is still good. Okay. Now, let's talk about the consumer price index. Right now, consumer price index is at an all-time high. And what consumer price index is, and you want to take a look at it because you want to see exactly, are the consumers actually spending money? However, because we are a nation of debt, And we actually borrow a lot of money in today's society to buy things. But you have to understand, we have to keep that ball rolling and kicking that can down the road. Now, if you start seeing a leading indicator where core CPI starts to drop, that means the United States is not spending money. And if we are not spending money, then we can't pay back our creditors. And that could actually be a sign that we could possibly be running into a recession. Remember, we have over $21 trillion that we owe, okay, to other foreign countries within our bonds, okay? Now, let's take a look at the United States new home sales. Sales of the new home single-family houses in the United States shrank 1.5% from the previous months. That's not good, and the reason why, what is happening right now is that, number one, if you take a look at Toll Brothers stocks, they actually pretty much had a big dip. And the reason why is because there was an article out talking about how Toll Brothers, you know, they build these high-end luxury homes. They are having a hard time because the cost of labor and the cost of the products are starting to go up to build these homes, and they are starting to slow down. So that is a big deal. However, things are a little bit different here in Nevada, but I will get to that here shortly. So that's another indicator that you definitely want to take a look at as far as new home sales and what's going out in the market today. But let's talk about where we stand here in Nevada, because Nevada, Las Vegas, and Henderson, our primary sector is hospitality and casino and gambling, right? So if the market tanks, I can guarantee that Las Vegas is going to be one of the hardest hitting places. You're going to have so much foreclosures, it's going to be crazy, okay? The reason why is because this is where people come and spend disposable income. This is where they come to have fun and entertain. But you have to understand, when interest rates get even higher because of the bonds, we got to pay back these bonds, right? Interest rate gets higher. Now people are contracting. I'm sure you've also seen inflation too as well around the country. I mean, things are getting very expensive. I'm not too sure if you guys are aware of that, but you know, when I go to the grocery store, I'm looking at stuff where I could have bought 2-3 years ago, you know, was cheaper than what I'm paying now. I mean, take a look at those signs. So, you know, be very careful, okay? Now, again, our primary sector is hospitality and casino gambling. So where do we actually take a look at these lead indicators? Number one, it's how many people are actually visiting Las Vegas each year. In 2016, 2017, we had over about $42 million, okay? I'm sorry, 42 million people visiting Las Vegas each year. Now, out of these people that are actually visiting, we actually generate over $10 billion in gaming revenue. That's the reason why we don't pay the state income tax. And also, if you drive around the Las Vegas Valley, what you'll tend to notice that our zoning compliance and also like our street signs and all, you know, the freeways, everything's all nice and brand new because we have so much money to come in. However, should the economy tank, nobody's going to come out here and spend that extra money because people are going to start to retract now, okay? Because the average person right now, I believe they spend about $330-something a day when they actually visit out here in Las Vegas. So, where you want to go to find this information as far as how many people are coming every single month, just visit the Las Vegas Visitors Authority. They come out with a report every single month of how much people are coming out here every single month. And right now, we are still on track. We're having an average about 3.2 million, so we'll definitely break that the 42 million people this year too as well. So things are still moving along. Our economy out here is great. But, you know, let's get right into it. Let's start off with the single family residence. Single family residence, as of today, we have about, we actually have a total of 4,002 properties that are currently available, and that's for private sales. This is where people actually have equity in their home and actually selling their home to actually make a gain. Now, short sales, there's only a total of 57 short sales that are currently in the market and 32 bank-owned properties on the market. Sometimes I get a call and people ask me, hey Chuck, what about foreclosures or short sales? Can I get a deal? Unfortunately, you can't get a deal in today's market because number one, when the bank takes a property back, normally what they do is the agent that they hire, they have the agent put the money into the home as far as the rehab, right? And at that point, they put it back on the market for fair market value because there's an asset manager, and that asset manager understands what's happening in today's market. That's their job. So they're not going to give you a discount on a home, unfortunately, in today's market, because they know what's going on with the housing market. Same thing with short sales. If you don't buy it today, now it becomes an approved short sale. Now, an agent will just throw that property back on the market and then as approved short sale. And at that point, they'll just move forward, and whoever buys that approved short sale will close within 35 days or sooner. Now, for single-family residents, the average list price last week was actually $295,000. The average sales price right now for a home, for a medium home, is $297,000 at $160 a square foot, with an average of 11 days on the market. But if we actually take a look at the beginning of the year, the median price point for a home was actually $270,000. That has gone up 10% as of today. Imagine that. Your home, $27,000 worth in equity if you bought it 6 months ago. That's pretty crazy. They say a normal market is 3%. I'm not too sure if that's correct or not, but you know, that's the word out. Now, if we take a look at townhomes, and you know what, let me go back to, let's take a look at townhomes first. If we take a look at townhomes right now, we have a total of 274 townhomes that are currently available on the market. 266 are private sales, which is 97% of the market. And short sales is, there's actually a total of 6 short sales, which is 2% of the market. And bank owned, there's only 2 bank owns. But if we take a look, the townhomes right now, they're going for about $219,000. The beginning of the year, you could have bought it at $200,000, but it's gone up about 9.5%, with an average days on the market is 8 days. However, if you take a look, the price per square foot is $145 a square foot versus actually a single-family residence at $160 a square foot. So that has technically gone up about 10%. So the market out here is just getting crazy. I can't believe it. Now, I did talk about this, at the beginning of the year, that I do see that the housing market is going to increase anywhere from 15 to 25% this year because of the low inventory and how interest rates are getting higher. People are, panicking more, and they're trying to get into the market before the interest rate gets even higher, and they're actually bought out the market. Because one of my main concerns is, the average household income here right now is only $51,000 a year. That's like 6 times the income. I mean, there's a lot of people that won't be able to, buy homes. Now, condos. Condos right now, we have a total of 575 homes that are currently on the market. 554 are private sales. Only 10 are short sales, and only 11 are bank-owned properties. Now, the average was listed for 140. The average sold right now is at 140. Okay, but if we take a look at the beginning of the year, the average price for a condo was actually on 130. That actually has gone up 7% as of today. And if we actually take a look, the average days on the market right now is 9 days. So things are actually moving pretty rapidly as well. So overall, if we take a look at the market combined, and I'm talking about single-family residents, townhomes, condos, manufactured homes, duplexes, and high-rises, right now, 97% of the homes that are on the market are private sales. 1.2% is short sales, and less than a percentage are bank-owned properties. Now, the inventory, we only have about less than 6 weeks of supply at this time. We're selling an average of 3,700 homes. And also what I've noticed, as of today, we have a total of 5,400 and 28 homes that are currently available. Every 7 days, every week, 8% of the sellers will actually do a price reduction, and the reason why is because the seller's understanding that it's really a seller's market and they're getting what they want, especially if they have a property in a prime location and it's all tricked out, it's move-in ready and all that stuff. They're actually getting top dollar and even more for the appraisal. Also, what I'm starting to realize is that the appraiser that goes out there, they never want to lose a deal and they never want to get challenged, so they're doing everything that they can to actually get that property appraised. And what I'm starting to see is the seller is not accepting any offers unless they're getting what they want, but knowing that if it doesn't appraise, they'll just reduce the price to where it needs to be to sell. So if you are thinking about purchasing a home, it's very important to work with a realtor that really knows how to negotiate a deal and really knows how to put a deal together, especially with new homes too as well. There's so many things when buying a new home that people just don't understand, and the things that you need to look out for. So, hiring a realtor, it's actually free. There's no charge to you. Highly recommend that you actually, screen and find that right realtor for you that can actually help you out, okay? Now let's take a look at multifamily. This is very important because I always get calls all the time for multifamily. For some of you guys that been watching my channel for some time, you guys know I got into the business because of real estate investing. I do have a couple multifamily, single family residents myself, and I'm always in the game to look for cash flow properties. That's the only reason why I'm really in this business. But however, for cash flow properties, things are just not making sense out there. And a lot of brand new investors are making bad moves as far as finding cash flow properties. Right now, there's probably about 77 multifamilies. When I talk about multifamilies, I'm talking about duplexes, triplexes, and fourplexes. There's not too many out there, but they're selling an average anywhere from about $85,000 per door, even to $100,000 per door. And the average fourplex right now is about $295. Average days on the market is 25 days. It just does not make any sense to buy a fourplex at this time. So if you are getting into the market for cash flow properties and you're looking at properties on the MLS, this is not the place to be looking. People that put their property on the MLS, they're expecting top dollar for that property. Okay? And if you penciled out the numbers, it's just not going to make any sense. Let's just do the math. Let's just say you buy a fourplex for $300,000. Let's make the math very simple. Each unit pays you, okay, and I'm going to do on the high side, $650 per unit, right? You have 4 units times 4. That's 26 times 12 months. That's $31,200 in cash flow. You take that divided by 300,000, okay? That's only a 10.4%. But I have not added, right, property taxes, insurance, okay? And that's only if you paid cash. Now, if you paid cash, your returns are only probably going to be about 7%, okay? Now, if you finance, it may be a little bit higher. However, also what I've noticed about these properties that people are not aware of, they're selling for top dollar, and it actually needs some work into it. So you're probably going to be spending more than the $300,000. But to me, the numbers just don't make any sense. But however, if you want to buy a fourplex, give me a call. I definitely like to earn your business, okay? Manufactured homes. I don't really get into the manufactured homes. I'll probably do 1 or 2 for somebody that really wants to get into a manufactured home. There are some guidelines to take a look at with manufactured homes, depending on the type of loan that you have, VA or FHA. Obviously, with the conventional guidelines, they're a little bit easier. However, if you go in VA or FHA, there has to be certain straps to the home because it's actually not on a pad. It has to be real property, not personal property. So there's so many things that you need to know about, purchasing a manufactured home. But you're probably better off getting a condo or a townhome versus a manufactured home at this time, as far as for a resale value in the long run. Okay. Now, let's take a look at financing consideration. So what I mean by that is all the properties that are actually currently on the market today. Okay. we know that everybody or every seller will accept cash. Now, conventional right now is actually at 98%, okay? 56% of the homes will accept FHA. 65% will accept VA loans, and owner will carry, and I get calls all the time, lease option owner will carry, that's like less than 1%. So, you know, with the way that the market is going right now, there's not too many owner will carries or lease options, and I definitely would highly recommend that you stay away from that, because in the long run you're going to save more money if you fix your credit. And normally people that go this route, you know, they have bad credit and they still need to fix their credit. But that's where you have to take a look at this, okay? Read between the fine lines. You can get a home today, however, in that contract, you're going to have to get your credit fixed anyway. Not only that, you have to put a pretty big chunk down. So if you have credit problems, that means you're going to have to fix it within 12 months, 24 months. If not, all that money that you put down, you'll definitely lose that. Also, the interest rate that you're going to get is probably going to be higher than 4.7% in today's market. So those are the things that you actually really have to take a look out for. So I would just highly recommend that you get with a professional lender that can actually pull your credit, see where you currently stand. Then from there, just work on those items and just start saving your money. It's going to be a lot quicker, and you don't have to worry about anything, okay? But most importantly, I really want to get into is actually the type of closings, type of buyers that are actually currently out there. If we take a look at the type of closings, 19% are cash buyers. From the last time I shot this video, we're at, I think, about 23%, so that has dropped. So if you're, you know, coming into the Las Vegas market thinking that you're a cash buyer because you're cash is king, unfortunately that is incorrect. Right now, the number one king, the guy that's on top of the hill, is if you are a conventional buyer. Conventional buyers went up from like, I think 52% all the way up to 56% at this time. And the reason why that has gone up is because if we take a look at the data as far as FHA buyers, FHA buyer was about at the 20%, but that dropped down to the 7%. And the reason why is because if you were an FHA buyer at that time, there is a new program that is out, okay? And this program is a conventional program at 5% down versus the 3.5%. But you're probably wondering, why wouldn't I just stay at the 3.5%? Because it's actually cheaper. I'm only putting $3,500 down on a $100,000 loan versus conventional putting down 5% on $100,000, right? Well, this is what's happening, okay? Because of the homes are priced so high and it's not making the appraisal, not only that, sellers don't want to deal with an FHA buyer because they are under the impression that the guidelines are a little bit harder to get appraised, right, when the appraisal goes out there. So what's happening is there's this new program. You have the 5% down on a conventional. It's just like an FHA loan, but you're putting down 5%. However, if you are a first-time home buyer, never bought a home before, and this is going to be your first home, I would probably take a look at this loan. Basically, if you're qualified, that 5% you're getting, 3% will go towards your down payment, right? So that means your loan balance is $97,000. That extra 2%, right, is getting applied towards your closing costs, right? So technically, you would only have to come up with additional 2% more for your closing costs. So on $100,000, you're really only coming up about $2,000. Versus if you went FHA, now you're coming up with $3,500 on a $100,000 loan. So it's actually cheaper for you to get this program, come up with only 2%, but now you are on a different bracket as far as the type of loan you have. So now that you're on a conventional, it makes you look as a stronger buyer, and it's actually more enticing to the seller. So that's something that I would highly recommend that you take a look at. Also, if you don't think you qualify for a home, here's the thing. Everybody eventually will be qualified for a home, no matter how bad your credit is. And the reason why is because I run into a couple people. You have some people where they think it's just too hard to get a loan. Or number two is their credit is so screwed up that they can't get it fixed. Anything can be fixed. You just got to know how to play the game, and you got to get with the right people to point you in the right direction. So keep that in mind, okay? So don't sit on the sidelines. Let's talk about rentals. Rentals right now, we have a total of 1,756 rentals currently on the market, and that has to do with condos, duplexes, fourplexes, manufactured homes, single-family residence, townhomes, triplexes, and also high-rises. Right now, and this is actually normal, 50% of the rentals are single-family residence. And what can you actually get? If we take a look for 1,800 square feet, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and a 2-car garage, with an average days on the market right now, 9 days, you can rent out a home for $1,475. Okay, so now the question comes down to, is it actually cheaper to rent a home or to actually buy a home in today's market? So let's take a look at the whole picture here. So we know that you can get an 1,800 square feet home for $1,475, right? Now, if we take a look at the median price point for a home is $297,000, okay? And you get 1,885 square feet. So let's do the math. We're gonna figure this out together. We know interest rate right now is at hovering about 4.75% on a 30-year fix. So I'm going to go to 4.75 on a 30-year fix. So let's go 300,000. So for a 30-year fix at 4.75%, your principal and interest only is $1,564. Okay. Now we already know that it's $1,475 to rent, and we also know that it is $1,564 to purchase a home. Okay, so let me just subtract this real quick, make it easier. See what the difference is. Maybe you guys can figure it out before I calculate this and see how smart you guys are. It is a $89 difference, basically. So the next thing you need to do is get with a realtor or give me a call. Let me know exactly what is it that you want, where that location is. So let's say if you're going to look in Summerlin. However, the Summerlin area, the rentals are going to be higher, but it probably doesn't make any sense for you to buy a home. But just to make this case simple, if you just take a look at the numbers, it's probably a better time to rent right now versus to actually buy a home. The only time you actually really want to buy a home in today's market is, number one, if you can see yourself living there for the next 10 years and eating an extra $89 to own a home, then that's something that you want to consider. But however, if you're thinking you're only going to be here for 3 years, 4 years, you're not too sure if this is where you're going to make home, then I'm going to say right now is not the time to buy. It's actually a good time just for you to rent a property. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Now let's take a look at buyers versus renters in today's market. So buyers versus renters in today's market, and if we take a look, 4,500 people are moving to Las Vegas every single month, okay? 37% of those people that are moving are actually renters. 63% are actually buyers in today's market, believe it or not.